In another video, I talked about the nutrition components that you're going to find in dairy milk and how to be able to read the label so you get the best milk for you and your family. Now I would like to talk about the different manufacturing processes that you're going to see on the marketing of the label so you can then also decide what is the best for you and your family and debunk some of the myths that go along with the labeling and the marketing. So first of all, let's talk about antibiotic free. Organic or not organic, if you think about having your own animal, you would not want to give antibiotics to your animal if they weren't sick because it's expensive and it might actually make your own animal sick. So whether the cow, the dairy cow, whether it is an organic cow or if it is raised what we call conventionally, there is not allowed to be residue in the milk product of an antibiotic when the milk is then taken to market. So most manufacturers, most people who are going and farmers that are going to raise cows don't use antibiotics unless the cow is really sick. This goes for organically raised and conventionally raised cows. So they keep on checking the milk. So let's say one of the cows gets sick and needs an antibiotic. They're very specific about what antibiotic they give the cow so that they don't give them too much, and they give them the right one. And then as the cow's getting better, they check the milk and they check the milk and they check the milk to make sure there's no residues in the milk. In fact, when an antibiotic made for dairy cows is released to the market, the FDA has specific guidelines on how long the cow should probably go without utilizing its milk, but it's continually tested. And then there's a second check. So let's say somehow the cow falls through the cracks. There's a second check that once all the milk is produced and collected and they put it in those big tankers to go for manufacturing and the rest of the processing, which we will talk about in the next video for the rest of the processing, they do another check. If there's any residue of an antibiotic in the entire tanker, they throw the entire tanker away. So from a manufacturer perspective, it's a lot cheaper to just throw away that one little bit of milk from that one cow until it's clear of antibiotics than to throw an entire tanker away. So whether a cow is either organically raised or conventionally raised, there is not going to be antibiotic in your milk. People are really concerned about hormone free. So the big thing back in the 90s was that it was approved that this I have to make sure that I say it right, recombinant bovine growth hormone, or we see the rbGH, was being used in cows with the goal to help them produce more milk. Well, America was one of the only places that it was approved. And it was seen that really giving the cows these hormones was not being helpful. In fact, it was harming the cow, but if you really also think about it, they were harming the property of what was producing the milk. So the manufacturers stopped using it. We also started to see that an insulin like growth factor was produced in humans in relation to this. So that was just another thing. So it wasn't helping the cows, and then it might have correlated to maybe some health problems in humans. So really nobody uses it anymore. So besides the I always have a difficult time saying it, rbGH, we don't use hormones in our milk. Any hormone that you would end up find in your milk product is natural occurring, because when you eat or consume a product coming from an animal who produces his own hormones, that's what you're consuming. You're going to consume natural occurring hormones. It's not added to the cow, they're not given shots. But if you think about a lactating woman, we have estrogen and we have all these other hormones that are helping us to be able to lactate. So we're naturally going to consume some of those. It does not correlate in any way to the way that we're growing, the way that as adults, we're not going to get too much estrogen from our milk, anything like that. So that whether it's an organic milk or a regular conventional milk, it's going to have the same type of naturally occurring hormones that any cow would have. So we've talked about antibiotic free, how they all have to be antibiotic free, hormone free. Most of them are now anyways, because we know it's not going to be helpful for either the cow or for the human. But really, when it comes down to it, the main difference between an organic milk and a grass-fed and the conventional milk is going to be the way the animal is actually fed. So you can be a grass-fed cow, but not necessarily an organic cow. But a cow that is organic is definitely grass-fed. So let me explain. You can have a conventional cow who's living on a farm, who's let to go out to pasture at any time they want to, and have an open field and go and forage and eat the grass that's in the field. They can be given some of this grass while they are, or hay or what that may be, in the manufacturing where they're living and where they're growing. That does not necessarily mean that they're organic. The grass-fed can mean that they're also fed a diet that is maybe a GMO raised alfalfa, or that it's not necessarily 100% whole grain. I mean, not necessarily 100% all grass. It might also be some grain in there. So grain-fed cows and grass-fed cows, or it could be a combination of the two. And then what we end up seeing is grass-fed cows have a tendency to create more conjugated linoleic acid, so CLA, which is an omega-6, which can correlate. It's a really good, healthy fatty acid that can correlate to some health benefits in humans. So if you're really looking for, we're really trying to get some good, healthy fats, maybe focus on grass-fed products and dairy products instead of just finding a conventional milk. What then steps it up another notch is organic milk. So organic milk, so this, of course, like I said, an organic product, an organic milk, they have to be grass-fed, but what makes them organic is that they're not allowed to be fed grains, first of all of their grass that they're fed and all of the foraging and the foliage that they're fed cannot be GMO, just like the grass-fed, if it was only grass-fed, was allowed to be. And just kind of a point on GMOs, whether it's GMO or not, we have never found in any scientific research that there has been a correlation between if an animal is fed GMO and we consume the meat or the dairy product from it. We have not found residuals of any of those GMOs. So I want to also point that out. So if you want to make sure you're not eating GMOs, it's really going to come down to an organic milk, because then the cow itself is not being fed any GMO products. The other thing about GMOs is the other thing about organic milk is that the food must be raised without any synthetic fertilizers. So the food itself essentially is organic, non-GMO, that the cow is being served. So there are many other things when it comes to being antibiotic free and hormone free, just like with the conventional cows we're seeing, but really they're watched also about the type of feed that they're having. So I've actually never tried this milk, this organic grass-fed milk here. I'm excited to try. Nice, smooth. It's a good milk. I do have to say that I have another favorite. I think I may have mentioned that in the other one, but this isn't a bad milk. So really it just depends on what you prefer, your price point, and what is best for your family, and maybe even the recipe that you're using. Cheers.